Hi again, everybody, and welcome here on TV 15. BiIl Huddleston along with the coach of the Roughers, Rafe Watkins, talking all things Rougher football. And Coach, last Friday night, start fast, little hiccup midway through third quarter, half of the fourth quarter. Then when it counted, the Roughers rose to the occasion, and you left Putnam City West with a victory.
Well, I think a hiccup would be an understatement. It's more like a blowout and a couple other tires on fire. But yeah, we started off well. You know, first road trip of the year, and go down and about a 2.5-hour drive, and came out. And you know, I was a little concerned in pregame warmups. We seemed a little flat, but that may have been, you know, I chalked that up to the long drive. But we come out fast and it was up 14-0. Had a scoop, almost score and get down there. And I think that was the key, and that's what we've talked about all week with these kids is when you have an opportunity to finish a team off, you need to do so as quick as you can. You know, Putnam City West has not had a lot of success over the last decade, and if you know, they really didn't want to put up much of a fight right then. And if we go ahead and go in from the 10 and score, but instead we messed around, got a penalty, dropped a pass, and then end up not getting any points out of it, then they come back and on 3rd and 18 through a desperation bomb and catch it, and now it's 14-7. Luckily, we gained the momentum right back with a long kickoff return and got up 21-7 and going at half 28-7. Getting the ball to start the second half, you're thinking, okay, we drive down here and it's over. They'll quit. First thing out of the box, we have the bad snap again, and why we always do it when we're kind of backed up and it goes in the end zone. They get the 2-point conversion, and then they go down on another 3rd and 18. They get it down to the 5, and then they go in and score. And at that point, you knew that it was going to be a battle because their fans got into it. Their kids said, hey, we can play with these guys, and they've got athletes. You know, if you look and just took the two teams, they look better on the hoof than we did. They have big linemen. I'm talking athletic linemen. Their quarterback's a great-looking kid. They had that big fullback that would probably play tackle for us. You know, he's 240 pounds, and he was a load. He was tough for us all night long. And they have speed at the wideout, so they have a great team as far as that goes. But I was proud of the kids. You know, I look back, and it was the same weekend last year as OU fell apart against Iowa State, and even having the Heisman Trophy winner in the top pick in the draft, couldn't get it back on track because once it starts falling, gets to rolling, it's sometimes hard to get it back on there. And finally, with 3 minutes left, we go down and drove the ball and looked like we did on the first couple of drives and get in and luckily throw a touchdown pass from Ty Williams to Connor Ashley with about 27 seconds left and win the ball game. But in that course of that, if the people, I don't know how you explained it on the radio, but when we scored our 14th point, our second touchdown, Jimmy Coleman, I know everybody likes the long runs and the big deep bombs or maybe the pick six or a punt return, whatever it may be, but the one that goes overlooked was a 10-yard run of where he was stopped at the 8, and our guys that we're always counting on, our linemen, got behind him, and it looked like one of those rugby scrums.
It did.
And it just kept moving, and it kept moving, and it kept moving until it drove into the end zone. And that, to me, what we've been preaching about for 5 years, was the epitome of what we want. I mean, it was a team effort. They got in there. Our line was driving. Our tailback was driving his feet, and it was just a want-to touchdown. And to me, it was as pretty as any 90-yard pass we've ever had here, and it was a fun time at that point.
Well, absolutely it was, and it was, like he said, just kind of like the old rugby scrum when the Roughers were not to be denied. Let's go to some of those highlights from last Friday night's game against Putnam City West. And, Coach, here we talk about some of the defense against the flex bone, and
I have an interception here by sophomore Darian Davis. Again, against a lot of folks, that may have been gone, but that quarterback, he could run pretty well from Putnam City West. His first play of the game with Caleb Webb with a 15-yard run. Caleb's really been a great football player for us. Unfortunately, we'll be without him for a couple of weeks. He gets a concussion in the game. Here's Ty Williams. He's going in for our first score to go up 7-0. Second drive, and Jimmy starts pouring it on here. Jimmy has, I think, a 17-yard run, about a 20-yard run, and then finishes off here in a minute with that. And I know that's got to make the highlights because that should be the first highlight of if we have a first season highlight. Again, just picking his way. If you look right here, our receivers are doing a much better job. There's Marcus Newton downfield, barking really hard. Big Wendell going up in the hole, you know, and if he just keeps his old feet moving. But here it is. We get stopped. Get the wall and just keep on pushing, and that right there, again, to a lot of people, it just looked like it looks really good to me.
Everybody got a point on that score.
This is after we got the big kick return back to get down there, and this goes in and it puts us in 21-7. And then right before halftime, we're able to get down and make it 28. And again, Jimmy had another big night, ended up with 137 yards on the night.
And he ran a cross-country mile to get this 25-yard gain.
Yeah, and this, I don't know, I don't know what that flag was right there. If you can still see that and throwing out a shoulder, it is what it is. But there's some of the craziest calls we've had this year, but that was supposedly a holding call. But fortunately, we're able to get into the end zone. Is that, I'm not sure what that was. Well, it had to be the 2-point conversion there is what we're trying for, and they just showed the last play of the game in there. And then this seals it right here. We put nickel package in. Of course, Ty goes in, and if Ty wasn't our quarterback, he'd be one of the top safeties in the state. I can assure you that kid is a ball hawk, and he would be incredible back there. But you know, we've got to have him right now as our quarterback, and he's doing a great job there. And you know what his future lies with as far as where he'll play down the road. But he's an outstanding safety.
The best thing about last Friday night is you went on the road with your young pups for the first time, and he came home with the W. And like you said afterwards, sometimes an ugly win is better than a pretty loss.
I'd take, let's see, we need 10 more of them to be a state champion. I'd take 10 more of the ugliest win you've ever seen, because it was a lot better than that week before when we played relatively well and got beat by the number 2 team by 2. So I'll take the ugly win anytime.
Well, when we come back, we're going to give you a chance to meet one of the playmakers for the Roughers. And later on in our show, we'll talk about this week and homecoming week, which is always a pleasant week for the head football coach. We'll do that with Rafe, Watkins, and myself, and we continue with more here on TV 15.
Our mobile apps are taking the country by storm, and none more than our fully customizable apps. Available in the App Store and Google Play, these apps are the home base for your school's athletic needs.
Welcome back on TV 15. BiIl Huddleston along with the coach of the Roughers, Rafe Watkins, and between us, coach, is one of those guys that's a difference maker. We talk about spotlighting kids like this young man between us for making a difference both on and off the field, and Connor Ashley is a pretty good example of that.
Connor's the perfect example of that. If you had 70 Connor Ashleys, you'd have no problems at all. He's never a discipline problem. He takes care of things in the classroom, off the field, on the field. You know, he started for us as a sophomore to corner last year. Probably wasn't quite ready to do that yet, but was forced to, and it made him better. I mean, he ended up by the season doing really well, and this year is great for us. He's a good leader for us. You know, with only having 7 seniors, he stepped up, and he's a great leader for us. And like I said, you just couldn't ask for a better kid.
Connor, now you've got an older brother that's taking his game to the collegiate level. Mm-hmm. How much do you and Carrington talk about the game of football? What does he share with you about how to make you a better football player?
We talk like three times a week. He's always talking about how, you know, you got to work hard for if you want to go play the next level. And, you know, he's still working to get where he really wants to be. And, yeah, he just tells me to work hard.
Now, you wear the number 1. Do you feel like that's a responsibility to have that number 1 on your jersey? Because that's ultimately where the Roughers want to be.
Oh, yeah. Number 1 is it's a number that I feel like it's really big to wear. So
now, Coach talked about your experience from last year. Now, after a sophomore season, coming back as a junior, what do you take from those experiences last year to make not only yourself better, but like Coach said, as a leader, make everybody else around you better?
Yeah, last year was a good learning experience. Like now I'm more calm in the game. It slowed down a little bit. Last year it was a little more hectic. I didn't really know exactly what I was doing, but last year has made it way better for this year for me and my teammates.
Now you got to be that difference maker last Friday night. Now tell me for sure the heart wasn't racing when you knew that the pass was going to come your way for that game-winning score?
Well, I had a feeling because once I ran my route, I seen that there was nobody covering me. So, yeah.
Well, and it was a lot of fun because you were doing some high jumping up and down when it was all said and done. Like the offense or defensive better?
Right now, I don't really know. I'm in between right now.
Doesn't really matter, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter as long as we're winning.
As long as they're winning, Coach, that's what you want. Because
he's on special teams too. You know, he goes back deep for us on the punts. He's just a tremendous football player, and like I said, most importantly, he is an intelligent football player, and that's what helps us so much. He can get his teammates in the right positions and does things that we ask of him.
So, talking about those classroom responsibilities, you got a favorite class here at the high school?
Favorite class right now probably have to be my speech class.
Speech class.
Yeah.
That helps with communication out on the field.
Oh
too.
Yeah, always. See, she teaches us real well.
Well, there's one thing about it, too. He's not shy to talk either, Coach.
No, it makes it easy for you to do the interview whenever you got a guy that can speak up here.
Absolutely. Where's number one? Connor Ashley, our guest this week. When Coach and I come back, we'll talk about Homecoming 2018, Spirit Week, and the Ponca City Wildcats. That when we continue on TV 15.
Our mobile apps are taking the country by storm, and none more than our fully customizable apps. Available in the App Store and Google Play, these apps are the home base for your school's athletic needs.
Back on TV 15, BiIl Huddleston with the coach of the Roughers, Rafe Watkins. Okay, Coach, all the games for practice are done. Now you're playing for keeps. You open at home against Ponca City. It's a district game. The playoffs, as Coach Heath referred it, start this Friday night. Then you add in homecoming.
It is. It's one of those, as I like to call, a necessary evil, but it's a great thing. You know, you get to have your alumni back, and schools like Muskogee, we treat it big. You know, I've been in places where we had other distractions, and right here we keep it pretty relative. We have our Spirit Week, and we have the Queen crowning on Friday at the Pep Assembly and stuff. So there's not a whole lot of distractions. You know, it used to be the first year I was here, we had the junior senior wars, and that got to be a big worry of mine because kids staying out late and doing the little crazy things that that's doing. But I think we've pretty much got that for the most part as far as the players part of it. We haven't had too much problems the last couple of years, and I don't anticipate any problems this year. But
right.
Homecoming is great because of the fact that you get to get a bunch of the old alumni back. They get to talk about their glory days and how good they were, and you know, pack the stadium. And the Indian Bowl will be. I mean, we've never had a homecoming that it wasn't standing room only, and so I anticipate the same thing this week against the Ponca City group.
Well, you know, Coach, you mentioned former players coming back, and a former player kind of had a spotlight this past Saturday on the collegiate level, but he also talked about his background of being a Rougher.
Yeah, Seth Luttrell, which I'm sure that people remember back here. I think he was probably on some of those great teams in the 90s. It's
right.
About the time that Seth came through, and then played fullback at OU. Has been a coach out at Texas Tech and North Carolina, and got his first head job down at North Texas, and had a big win over Arkansas this week. And he's one of the up and coming. You know, North Texas is not going to keep him for much longer.
Right.
He's going to get one of those bigger jobs that's coming open here before long, probably like a Texas Tech or something along those lines, I would imagine. But anyway, he was being interviewed on the Sports Animal, and at the end, Pat Jones, the former OSU coach, said, you know, well, Seth, do you ever feel like a Rougher anymore along that? And he said, I'll always be a Rougher. And I thought that was about as good as could be, because that's true. Once a Rougher, always a Rougher. And he that was a good shout out for our program, for our kids, and for our school and community.
Absolutely. And about Seth, he was not only an outstanding football player, but he's also one of those state champion wrestlers. And he's just carried that mentality. Kind of lives up to one of the other adages, nothing tougher than a Rougher. And the Roughers will need to be tough against Ponca City because, like we said, it is play for keeps now.
We will, and it's starting the second part of the season. You have the preseason, you have the district season, and then hopefully if you take care of that, you're in the postseason and the playoffs. And like Coach Heath said, the playoffs start now because every game is so vital for us. You know, Ponca City in the past, other than the first year, I think we've handled them pretty well, probably 30 points or more, but they've got a new coach, and Coach Harmon, you watch them, they're so much more disciplined, they play hard. We've got them on all their game films so far, and they really are doing a good job, and they're so much more disciplined, and they're enthusiastic, and they've been in every ball game and lost to two of the best 5A teams in Collinsville and Guthrie. They're both top 10 teams, I think actually both top 6 teams. And then lost to Enid in a close one, and had a chance to beat Enid at the end, the only 6A team that they played. So they're much better. Like I said, they'll be a hard-nosed group. Coach Harmon, he used to be the head coach at Hominy when they won their state championship, been a long-time coach, and so they will be very well coached, and they'll be ready to come in and play.
Well, it should be an exciting Friday night out at Indian Bowl, and of course, if for some reason you can't make it out for all the homecoming celebrations and the expected Rougher victory, you can follow us online at MuskogeeAthletics.com. Now, you can either go to that address, MuskogeeAthletics.com, or you can download the Mascot Media app and set it up to follow all things Roughers, including our live stream broadcast each and every Friday night, which our students do such a great job in producing all the sights and sounds of Rougher football. Until we meet again, Rafe Watkins, it's time to go get a win after we crown the queen, but it's time to go get a victory against Ponca City on Friday.
Without a doubt.
We'll be looking forward to that and talking to you more about Rougher football when we get together next week. And as always, it's a great day to be a Rougher.